All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Molly Hale. I am the VP of Customer Success here at Ardoq, and I am delighted to be your host during today's session titled Bridge Business and IT for Smarter Process Transformation. Before we get started, let me cover just a few housekeeping items. First, we will be launching a few polls during today's session, so please participate. Don't be shy. We encourage questions throughout, and we will seek to answer as many of them live as possible. If we are unable to answer any of them live, do not fret. We will get back to you following the event. And finally, today's event is being recorded, and we've got 3 resources loaded up in Interface that you can download as a takeaway and share with your colleagues. So speaking of polls, let's warm up a bit, shall we? We would love to know who is joining us today for this session. So we've launched this quick poll asking what your role is. Are you an enterprise architect, IT management, solutions architect? All right, let's get some results in here. We'd love to know who's out there and participating today. Who's most interested in this topic? All right, we got enterprise architects as kind of a runaway winner here. Awesome. Love to see it. All right. Let's give a few more seconds. Consensus seems to be enterprise architects. Awesome. We love to see it, but welcome all. Love to see who's interested in this topic. All right. But let's keep it rolling here and let's not waste any more time and get you introduced to the man of the hour. So I am excited to introduce to today to Jon Scott, product manager here at Ardoq and a true expert in enterprise architecture. He's got years of hands-on experience, and Jon has helped to shape how organizations manage technology, align strategies, and deliver results. Today, Jon will share his insights on how to effectively bridge the gap between strategy and execution, leveraging data-driven approaches to drive successful business outcomes. But before I hand it over to Jon, let's run through the topics that we are going to cover today. So here's what we're going to be diving into. Our goal is to equip you with practical insights and actionable takeaways that will help you elevate your enterprise architecture practices and deliver even more value to your organizations. We've had an exciting week so far. So we're going to start with recapping the EA Jumpstart 2025 series and what other sessions we've hosted this week so far, and then zero in on the challenge of taking strategy to execution. So next, we'll confront a challenge every EA faces, bridging the gap between business and IT, specifically as it relates to business process management. And Jon will share why this often breaks down and how we can overcome those hurdles with the right tools and mindset. Of course, we'll get hands-on. We will deliver a live demo showing you exactly how Ardoq works and how it can support your efforts as enterprise architects. This will be an invaluable look at the platform in action. And then before we wrap up, we'll cover what success looks like and highlight some common pitfalls to watch out for as well. Jon will offer expert advice to help you navigate challenges and maximize your results. So it's a packed agenda with plenty of value at every step. I encourage you to engage, ask questions, make the most of this opportunity, and to learn from one of the best in the field. So let's get started. Here we have the full lineup for our EA Jumpstart 25 series. It's been a week packed with valuable insights so far to help you kickstart your EA initiatives for the new year. If you missed either of our previous sessions so far this week, you can reach out to us and we will get you the recordings. As you can see, each day focuses on a different critical area of enterprise architecture, providing you with a comprehensive toolkit, playbooks, guidance, and downloadable out-of-the-box Ardoq solutions to tackle your biggest challenges. And so without any further ado, I will now stop talking. Jon, good afternoon. Are you ready to go, my friend?
I am ready to go. Thank you very much.
All right, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Molly. So let's talk about business process management, right? So for better or for worse, all organizations run on people, process, technology, and data. And misunderstanding or misunderstood processes can have a widespread negative effect on your organization. From a lack of business understanding with duplicated efforts leading to extra cost and to employee confusion, struggling to find the information that they need. It can also lead to the inability to improve the organization. Without clarity, optimization and innovation can sometimes be delayed. And then you just have process inefficiency, where processes are stagnant, inefficient, costing time and money. And this can also lead to impacting your customers and their ability to engage with your organization and get value from your organization. It can also lead to a lack of visibility into risks within your organization. So your company operates, and if your processes are inefficient, where are those risks surfacing up? Organizations that understand their business processes can realize operational efficiencies, and they can also improve their customer satisfaction. And by understanding their process, they can also improve employee productivity. They just don't have the insights that they necessarily need to be successful. All right, so if left unmanaged, business process gaps can significantly hinder your organization's agility and drain valuable resources. And ultimately, organizations don't want that. So let's take a break here. I apologize earlier, but let's take a break here and do another poll to try to understand how you, within your organizations, what are some of the biggest challenges you guys face?
Yeah, let's do it. So before we get into showing you all how our BPM solution works, we'd love to do a quick gut check and better understand your challenges. So here's the poll again. What is the biggest challenge you face in managing your business processes? All right, let's see. Lack of process visibility and understanding, of course. That seems to be our clear runaway to start. Inefficient workflows causing delays and waste. That seems to be coming up next. All right, I think lack of process visibility and understanding. That's definitely one I definitely hear the most from our customers as well. John, is that definitely something that you hear a lot as a product manager as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So that's ultimately what the BPM solution aims to solve for, is bring visibility into what processes an organization has and how it connects to the broader organization. And so let's take a look at how BPM can help solve that. So the business process management solution was developed to meet customers where they are in their process journey, whether that is starting from scratch or well on their way. The solution will provide clear visibility into processes and their EA connections, insights into the business efficiency and effectiveness, and clarity into the areas of business at risk. And as more organizations move to leverage the capabilities of artificial intelligence and AI, having a sound understanding of processes within the organization will greatly bolster that automation. So Ardoq has a four-pronged approach that gives flexibility to meet diverse customer needs, offering lightweight and feature-rich solutions, maintaining vendor independence, and providing a comprehensive offer that integrates process mapping, modeling, mining, and management with enterprise architecture for real business results. So first, I want to talk about getting the data into Ardoq and if that's where your organization is at. So some organizations are at different stages of their process journey. You may already have solutions that where you capture your processes. You may not. So regardless of where you're at, we have two integrations, one with SAP Signavio and one with Celonis, that will allow you to pull in your process information into Ardoq and connect it up to the rest of the enterprise architecture. So specifically with SAP Signavio, this two-way integration, like I said, allows you to import your business process dictionaries, getting that information into Ardoq, while you can still use You can use Ardoq to capture additional information that's within Ardoq, such as your capabilities, roles, ownership, technologies, and then be able to put that information back into Signavio. So meeting you where you work. Very similar with Celonis. We have two integrations with Celonis with Symbio, as well as the process intelligence, with Symbio, allowing you to pull in your process information, and with process intelligence, allowing you to pull in KPIs and additional process mining data associated with the process that you can then connect to the broader enterprise architecture and the knowledge graph within Ardoq, giving you a kind of a centralized repository where you have all of your process information, capability information, technology information, people, so forth and so on. So now let's jump into Ardoq and see how this looks. All right, so when you go into Ardoq, I wanted to start by showing our Ardoq solution module, right, where you can find all of the various solutions available to you. As you might have seen in previous webinars, or as Molly mentioned, we have several topics. In fact, we have one of the largest out-of-the-box solution libraries available for any architecture tool. And so here we're going to focus in on process management, where we can articulate which questions we're going to cover, the meta model associated with our business process management solution, as well as component types, reference types, how we structure this, and fields associated with it, so that we can start to understand what comes within this package, as well as materials that come pre-configured out of the box as this deploys, as you leverage this. And it's very easy to get this into your organization. You just hit this add solution materials, and it loads in all of the components. It loads in your all these solution materials pre-configured for you, so you don't have to mess with anything. No hassle, easy to use, as well as all this documentation to help you get started quickly to get to that value, get to that insight. And so if you are regardless of where you are within your journey, right? We covered the integrations where you can get your process information in, but if you're starting from scratch, we also offer the APQC business process framework out of the box that you can load into your organization to help you get started, right? So you don't have to start from nothing. You can start from this framework and build from there. And so let's take a look at a process that we have within the APQC framework, and imagining that we've either imported information into Ardoq, process information into Ardoq from one of our integrations, or we're leveraging this APQC framework. Let's look at our define and maintain, our favorite topic, enterprise architecture. So let's see, just a quick search. All right, so define and maintain enterprise architecture, right? So here I have various degrees of hierarchy. These are my process categories, right? And these can go to any depth that you need. But one of the things that we really recommend, that we've seen time and time again, and not just with process, but just architecture in general, is documenting at the right level. Sometimes it can be a lot of work to go down and get really, really detailed, but that detail comes at a cost. And sometimes that cost is not worth it. And so it's really important that we document to the right level. So here we're looking at, let's look at this establish and operate enterprise architecture governance. So this process, if I click on this, I don't have any information associated with this process, right? So I want to start to collect this information. I need to understand how this process connects into the rest of my organization. Maybe I want to understand how mature it is, who owns it, that kind of information. So I can use our broadcast and survey functionality to start to collect that information. So flipping over to our survey module, I can just type in BPM. And again, when you load the solution into your environment, right, all of these things come pre-configured. I just click on this process detail survey, open this up, and I've already got the process documented. So I'm just going to look for this specific process. Establish, whoops. All right, so here I can see the actual process. I can see information associated with it, but I don't have anything documented, so it sits empty, right? So here I can assign the owner. I'm going to say it's Dom, and I don't know the duration of it, but we'll say obviously it's going to be an enterprise architecture process, so it's going to be fairly mature. Don't know the duration, so we'll just leave that empty. Maybe I don't know any data, or maybe it doesn't process any data. So we can say roles associated with this, enterprise architect, technology. Of course, we're going to be using Ardoq to capture and do our enterprise architecture governance. And what are the teams? All right, so enterprise architecture, and this has been reviewed and approved. And so when I submit this survey, now I can come back into Ardoq, and I can see this information. So let me just focus in on this establish and operate enterprise architecture governance. So now I can see the application, that's the technology that's being used to run this process is Ardoq. We have roles associated with it. We have an owner, right? And so now we can start to understand how this process operates within the organization. Now, like I said, sometimes an organization's requirements are different, and you need a little bit more fidelity. You need a little bit more granularity into the details of a process. So as you can see here within our legend, right now we just have our process category and we have our process. Well, let's go look at another process where we actually might need a little bit more fidelity. And the solution and the meta model associated with the solution allows for that lower level of fidelity. So below the process, we have a process activity, which just operates as a steps within a process. And so here within manage employee onboarding, if we scroll down, we have employee performance, where we review, appraise, and manage employee performance. So I have process activities articulated, and looking at this process in another view, I can see the various aspects associated with the process, right? So I have my process steps, sending out the survey, completing the survey, meeting with the direct manager, documenting the results of that. I can see technology that's being used, but now at this lower level, I can also start to articulate some additional metadata. So I can start to capture duration on various steps. I've connected one of these activities to employee ID. And so this is going to surface up that this process activity step actually handles PII, right? And then that ultimately rolls up to the process itself to articulate this process leverages or processes PII. And so you need to be more cognizant of that process, as well as roles and accountability and associated with those roles and how they engage with the process. We also have activity types. So lots of additional details that we can capture at that process level. And again, if you're using something like Symbio or you're using something like Celonis, you can pull this information in and populate these fields automatically, right? And so, we can take this view of this process that we were just showing, this review, appraise, and manage employee performance, and looking at it around process automation. So I have my activity types captured, and I can see that there are some manual processes. And these processes I can see that some of them are manual, some of them are automated, and that will give me a percent automated value on the process itself, right? And as we capture more information across various processes, more and more information becomes available to us around how our processes are performing. And we can do analysis on that information. So here we have maturity of the review, appraise, and manage employee performance. We have the percent automated, and we can see the duration, and we can see that it's actually doing pretty well. It's pretty mature, even though it takes a long time. It's pretty automated, so we don't necessarily need to improve that, but we may need to improve the process return and record reason process because it's not very mature and it's not very automated. And so, but then we can take this information and we can now show this layered up to the business capabilities. So here is our business capability model connected in with our human resources capabilities, connected in with our basically our human resource processes. And so we can see the various processes associated with the business capabilities and what they enable. And then we can use conditional formatting and to highlight various aspects where we might need improvement, whether that's via automation, whether that's maturity, whether that's duration. We can surface up those areas of focus so that we can improve them. And all this information, as we collect it and pull it together, right, we'll start to populate these dashboards where we can see where things are effective, where things are mature, where things are immature, where we have high or low automation, where we have high or low cycle times, giving us insight into, again, where we need to focus so that we can realize those values that we're striving for, where we can get that efficiency, where we can get that understanding. And we can also surface up where we actually need to focus on things, right? So if processes are missing data, important metadata, if they're missing ownership, if they're missing various aspects, we can surface up that information as well. Because the more accurate the data is, the better the insights and the better decisions that we'll be able to make. And so here, and all of these things, like I said, come out of the box with a solution. And so as you populate the data, these dashboards come alive, these insights come alive, and you can start to realize value immediately. Now, as many of you, or as some of you might have known, or maybe don't know, last year we acquired a process tool called ShiftX, and the ShiftX team has been doing a wonderful job working with Ardoq and working to integrate our ShiftX in with Ardoq as part of this business process management solution. Right. So one of the things that I actually want to showcase real quick is how that relationship will look going forward. So let's jump back to the review, appraise, and manage employee performance process. So I can come from this process, and I'm going to jump directly into ShiftX, right? So I can see here's my process as I saw it within Ardoq. I have my various flow, and what you see here is some information. And this information, this HR manager, direct manager, is being pulled directly from Ardoq. And so I can just make a quick edit here. I can look at this specific step, and I know that this is going to be fulfilled by the direct manager. So I can just do an @direct, direct manager. So this is pulling from Ardoq. It's pulling from the various workspaces that we've configured. So I can pull in the roles, I can pull in technology, I can pull in anything that I've set up ShiftX to pull in as a resource available to a process, and then I can articulate that. Same thing over here on this one. I'm going to say outcomes of the development dialogue using employee ID, right? So now I can associate using the process, the ShiftX process modeling tool. to articulate the flow. I can pull in the information from Ardoq as well. And then once I publish this, it will send that information back into Ardoq. And it's very easy to use ShiftX, creating steps, decision points, where you want to articulate sub-processes and processes. And so keep your eyes peeled. More to come on ShiftX. It's a really awesome thing that's coming and will be available shortly. But that wraps it up for the demo for me, the BPM solution in-app demo, and we'll flip back to the slides. All right, so thank you so much for the demo. And let's talk a little bit about the solution itself. So our business process management solution and all of our solutions at Ardoq, for that matter, are available to all of our customers at no additional cost. And they come with pre-configured meta models. And the value of a pre-configured meta model is, we understand how Ardoq works. We leverage our expertise to come up with the best approach. We chat with customers all the time on how to refine and improve these. And so you get this optimal model that will help you get to your outcome as fast as possible, as well as with tons of pre-configured, as we've seen, pre-configured materials such as dashboards, presentations, viewpoints, broadcasts, surveys, you name it. There's a ton of pre-configured materials that you can jump right into, load your data, and start to get those insights immediately. We also have a ton of knowledge-based materials that helps guide you through the process of setting up, configuring, and running your process management solution or any solution within your organization to get maximum value. And like I said earlier, our solution library is the largest out-of-the-box library available, and providing you with a wealth of resources to accelerate your EA initiatives. So whether your focus is on managing costs, reducing risks, growing revenue, we have pre-built solutions and to help you achieve your goals and get to your outcomes. And our solutions are built by EAs. So we have a team of very senior, experienced enterprise architects that collaborate and engage and build these solutions, and ensuring that they're tailored to the specific needs of enterprise architects. And we understand your challenges within your organization. And the best part is that these solutions can be extended. We recognize that every organization is unique, it's different, and so they can be extended to meet the needs of your organization. All right, so let's wrap this up and let's talk about some of the success criteria. What we want to have, what we're aiming for is to get a good understanding. As the poll said, right, the biggest hurdle, the biggest pain point is just visibility into these things, right? And so the very first value that we can get is capturing our processes, connecting it to the enterprise architecture, and seeing how they operate within the organization. That will ultimately help organizations drive down cost, right? Drive down cost by identifying operational efficiencies. It can increase revenue by paving the way for innovation and paving the way for automation. And ultimately will help your customer experience, right? Because as customers engage with an organization that have mature processes, improving how they, a customer service experience, whether it's, through a help desk, right? If you've got a bad help desk process, right, a resolution for a customer could take a considerable amount of time. And so understanding how those processes impact customers can really help improve that satisfaction and improve those processes. And so some of the things I just want to make sure that that we focus on and don't forget. And the pitfalls, common pitfalls associated with process is over documentation and going too deep. Again, understand what your organization is looking for in terms of documenting processes and what you're trying to achieve, and documenting for that level. If your organization needs to go deeper, if they need the granularity and fidelity, then go to that level. But if your organization doesn't, stay at the higher level, document it at the process level and not at the activity level. And as well as focus on critical processes. Don't try to boil the ocean. It's going to take too much time. Focus on what's important and delivering that value quickly and at the right level. And then the other thing is siloed implementations. This information is valuable for the whole organization and not just EA. So make sure to socialize and collaborate with stakeholders to drive that value and articulate that value to the rest of the org. As Molly mentioned, there are resources available. We have several resources available for you to help you get started on your business process management journey. And so final thoughts. The business process management, think of it as the connective tissue for the organization. It connects processes to data, technology, teams, helping you make informed decisions faster and with greater confidence. Avoid getting caught up in documenting every process. Instead, focus on high impact areas that directly contribute to your business objectives and measurable outcomes. And iterate. BPM isn't a one-time project. In fact, most of our solutions and the way that we approach architecture is through iteration. It's a continuous journey, and regularly revisit and refine your processes to stay aligned and with your ever-evolving goals and market demands. With these principles, BPM can transform your organization, driving clarity, efficiency, and sustainable growth. All right, that wraps it up. And now it's time for questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Jon. That was incredibly insightful, and you are a natural and truly in your element navigating the product there. I learned a ton, and I hope our customers did too. We have questions pouring in, customers eager to know more and ask you some questions, and our panelists are feverishly typing away. But before we get to that, we actually have one more poll to share with everybody. Surprise. Let's launch that. Perfect. So is there a rule of thumb to know what would be the right level of documentation? Or is this just hit and trial, right? So it won't drive the business outcomes. Stakeholders won't engage or understand it. Critical gaps or dependencies will be missed. It will become outdated too quickly, not having enough time to deliver meaningful results. I'm seeing a big takeoff here, and stakeholders won't engage or understand it. I had a feeling that might be one of the answers here. All right, I'm thinking that is the clear winner here. Jon, does this align with what you hear all the time? And do you have any further insights on this?
Yeah, the big thing with processes and making sure to engage with stakeholders, and that's one of the things that's really important about process and connecting it into the rest of the enterprise architecture, is that stakeholders, I'm going to go out on a limb and say stakeholders are business people, right? And really that's the gap that we're trying to bridge, is the business and IT gap, right? And so the way that BPM works is by connecting that technology piece to the process piece. Business is what they understand. And so when you talk to them about what they do and how they do it, then it's a much easier conversation, because you can then directly say, things like, hey, when we make these types of changes to the organization, to IT, to technology, or that's going to have this impact to your business. This is going to have an impact to your customers, because it's going to be impacting these capabilities or these processes that are critical to you doing your job. And so it's important to always tie those pieces together. It's all about, again, meeting the stakeholders kind of where they work and being able to speak their language. Process helps us establish kind of that taxonomy where we can talk their language and help them understand how the IT bits could impact the business bits and vice versa, right? It's not just a one-way thing. That's why I said it's important to collaborate with them and get them to work with you so that they can provide that information, their process information, provide that info back into the enterprise architecture so that you can get those insights and have a successful collaboration and be able to articulate that value.
Well said. Awesome. Are you ready for some questions?
Hopefully I am ready. I'll do my best.
Let's do it. And like I said, we also have some panelists on the line here as well. So I think we can dive into some. And there's also some really great questions that they've been answering live here that with some time, I'd love to actually recap some of those for the benefit of the audience to hear out loud. So let's see here. There's been a lot of questions here in regards to our BPM solutions, Signavio, Celonis, and just wanting to know the difference between those solutions. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So say more about the Celonis. So can you repeat the question again?
What makes Ardoq's BPM solution different from SAP Signavio and Celonis? Like there's a lot of different questions coming up about those different solutions here.
Yeah, perfect. So the BPM solution, the way to think about it is that within Signavio or within Celonis, right, they focus in on process modeling and articulating the various steps of the process. And the big difference between the BPM solution and Ardoq and our approach to this is we're not necessarily trying to replace Signavio or Celonis. We're trying to work in tandem with them. Because the value that we have seen is that if we take information, the information that's within Signavio, take the information that's within Celonis, we can marry that up with the rest of the enterprise architecture within the knowledge graph that exists within Ardoq, right? And so, like I was saying, right, it's not just process, which is what you would have within Celonis. It's not, or within Signavio, it's not just the process aspect of it, but within Ardoq, we pull that information in and augment it, right? We augment it with the data, with the technology, with the capability, with anything that potentially is within that knowledge graph, right? So for example, if say we have a process that we want to improve, we've identified that review, manage, and appraise employee performance. It's not doing so well. Let's improve that process. Well, now we can use our strategy to execution solution. We understand initiatives, objectives, because that's documented within Ardoq and within our knowledge graph. By the way, more to come on strategy execution on the webinar on Friday. Just quick plug on that. But we've got initiatives within Ardoq that we can tie back to the process to say, we're going to implement this, we're going to go run this project to improve this process. And these things are often lost, right? They happen in different systems. They happen, it's knowledge that's in people's heads. So here, by pulling that information into Ardoq, we can connect all that stuff together. So we can say, we're going to improve this process, and this is the initiative that we're going to do to improve that. And this is when you can expect to see that change. And here's the benefit that you could potentially realize. And so it's not meant to be a replacement by any means, but more of an augmentation where we can pull that information in and just have better insights and visibility into how that connects into the broader architecture.
Great summary there. Another question about the return on investment for investing in a product like this. How quickly can organizations start seeing return on investment after implementing Ardoq for BPM?
That's a great question. And I think ultimately the return on investment can be very quick, honestly. because leveraging the BPM solution, you no longer have to struggle and mess with trying to figure out how to model something, how to structure something, how to configure assets, configure things within the tool. It's all done for you, right? So if you're leveraging a tool like Signavio, right, it can be a matter of days potentially as you pull that information in from your sources, or start to capture that information within Ardoq. Those assets come alive and you can start to get those insights almost immediately, right? And if you focus on documenting and tranching the data sets on to things that are critical to the organization, right? Like one of the things I suggested, as a takeaway is to focus on, critical things. Focus on a critical process, document that, articulate that information, and that's immediately bringing visibility to that process and how that connects into the broader organization. And so those insights can start to flow very quickly, depending on, whether you have that information, but right, how you approach the problem. And all of this, how you approach it and how you approach BPM using Ardoq, we articulate all of that in our knowledge base articles and within our resources to help you, understand kind of like what we think is the best approach so that you can get to that value as soon as possible.
Amazing. All right. Let's see here. I think we have time for one more question. We talked a little bit about this in the poll as well, but in terms of getting employee adoption engagement with the BPM tools, I think we just want to talk a little bit more about like how we can get them to do that. And I think the good interface that we have with our tools is a good way of explaining that. But maybe we can dig a little bit deeper in terms of how we can get that. I think it's the age-old question of, you can bring a horse to water, but how do you get them to drink?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, it's about being able to articulate the value that they're going to get out of it, right? And so if you connect up aspects of the, you know, knowledge graph to their process, and show that back to them to say, hey, these are areas that could use improvement, or these are areas of your organization that are at risk, or these are areas that are part of, your purview that are at risk because, maybe they are handling PII and the technology is not up to snuff, right? And so there could be an issue there. Or maybe it's just the process is not doing well and it's having an impact on customer experience, right? Being able to surface that information up, they're going to appreciate that, right? And so that's one of the reasons why we're big proponents of our socio-technical approach. With our broadcasts and with our surveys and with our presentations, with our Discover, it takes that information that's going to be relevant for them in a and delivers it in a consumable way so that they can look at that and then they can see, oh, this is where we need improvement. This is where we could really fix this process or understand where we need to make changes. And so really it's just about engaging with those stakeholders and being able to talk to them at their level, right? So talk to them about their process, about what they're trying to achieve, their outcomes, and how the technology, the data, the more IT side of it is either facilitating, helping, or helping deliver that ultimately. And, I mean, and it's honestly, that's the best way to do that is to illustrate how they're going to get value out of this collaboration and how they can improve the things that they're responsible for through it. These are insights that are valuable to everybody, not just enterprise architecture.
Well said. All right, Jon, I think we could sit and talk about this all day if we could, but unfortunately, we have run out of time. So we will have to wrap it up here. But thank you for this wonderful presentation and demo today. I learned a lot. I hope our audience did as well. And speaking of our audience, a big thank you to you as well for attending today and being so engaged and asking such great questions. Again, just a reminder, if we did not get to your question, we will have someone follow up with you after the call to make sure it gets addressed. You will also receive a recording of this session, so please share it with any friends or colleagues who did not make it today. We hope you have a lovely rest of your day and week wherever you are dialing in from around the world. Please make sure you are signing up for the rest of the sessions for the week. Thanks again, and take care.